Well, hello there, Space Monkeys. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. This episode is going to be kind of a fun one. We're going to do more top 10 horror films. You guys, by popular demand, I'm going to do a couple more top 10 lists here. These are for people that have free streaming services, and I highly recommend you not buy these. Just steal them or figure out a way to jailbreak your Fire Stick, or steal a Fire Stick and then have someone jailbreak it for you. Whatever you got to do. But we're going to do top 10 on Netflix and top 10 on Amazon Prime. That's how we get ours. So, I mean, that's what I recommend if you can do it. But if you happen to have one of those and you are paying for it, whatever, now you have top 10 that you can watch between now and Halloween if you want to watch one a night. So, also, I'll get the Basement Files Cenk Uygur episode to you guys later today. That's on Rockfin right now. I'm going to upload that probably later tonight, talking about how he was angry with Sanjay Gupta for going on Joe Rogan's show with half-baked propaganda. That'll be up tonight sometime, I promise. So, without belaboring this too much, I'm going to give you a synopsis of each of these films. I'll tell you which ones are my favorites, and these are all great for their own reasons. And I'll also give you kind of this isn't exactly like in order. They're just kind of the top 10 in no particular order, but I will let you know which ones are my absolute favorites. Let's start with Netflix. Creep 1 and 2, the Creep series. Some of my all-time favorites. Found footage, Mark Duplass, he's from The League. I think he directed and starred in them, and they're about this creepy guy who kind of lures people out to the woods via Craigslist ads. And at first he seems like a kind of a nice guy. He's just a little bit weird, and he manages to keep the viewer, the person holding the camera and filming him, like on the hook for a while. And the more you get to know him, the more creepy he becomes. But he's so like nice and endearing in certain ways that like the viewer they like feel bad for trying to discard him. And it turns out he's crazy, and it is very, very scary. And this is one of those instances where both are good, and the second one is actually arguably a better movie than the first one, but both are classics. Like the first Creep is a classic horror film, so highly recommend. They're very short, like an hour and 10 minutes long. You could watch them both in a night if you wanted to. Creep 1 and 2. Next one is called His House. This is about a family from the South Sudan immigrating to the UK, and when they get there, they have to stay in this dilapidated old house that the state makes them stay in. And what is happening is the husband is trying to like fix up the house a little bit and make them acclimate to their new and better life. But as it turns out, the house they've been placed in has this creature living in the walls. It's like a paranormal movie. And this one's wonderful for not only the storyline and the societal commentary that it provides, but also the shots are extremely unique. As somebody who enjoys cinematography, His House has some really, really crazy, weird shots that you don't see in any other movie. So, and it's also PG-13, which is crazy. To be such a scary movie, so well done, there aren't many PG-13 movies on this list. So kudos for that as well. It's called His House. Next one, I rewatched this last night actually. It's called Sweetheart. It's another short one, hour and 20 minutes, about a young lady who she gets in a plane crash and ends up stranded a la Castaway on a desert island. And it's like that, except for there's actually a beast on this island. So it's like a little bit of the Lord of the Flies, a little bit of Castaway, except for this beast actually does exist. So it turns into a creature feature. It's a very, very fun movie. Again, PG-13, which is a rarity on this list. But it's extremely well acted, it's short, and it doesn't get much better as far as creature features go. I'm not a huge fan of those, but this one is extremely well done. It's very tense. And again, it doesn't have a rated R. It doesn't use gratuitous gore or anything to gross you out. It's just tension building. And of course, it's very isolation feeling. And the protagonist is awesome in this one too. The female that plays the main lady, she's awesome. That's called Sweetheart. Next one is called Under the Shadow. This one, again, is a great social commentary. It takes place in an apartment building, I think in Iran, as there are all these bombings going on around them. And it's about a woman and her child always being under the constant threat of bombs falling through the ceiling. And so the sirens are always going off and they always have to go to the basement. And then, as it turns out, her apartment is also haunted by a jinn. And if you know what a jinn is, that tells you everything you need to know. It's a very scary paranormal entity. So this one's very well acted. It's a foreign film, which means you'll have to read subtitles. Sorry, some of these have subtitles. But the overarching storyline with such a heavy societal commentary is the type of thing I love to see in horror films. So this was wonderful in that aspect. It's called Under the Shadow. Next one's called Girl on the Third Floor. It's about a couple, newly married, I believe, moving into a new house that's ultra dilapidated. So the husband has moved in a few weeks ahead of the wife to do renovations. And as you find out, he's kind of a womanizer, and the house is actually being haunted by a seductive woman thing that keeps fucking with him. And as the story kind of goes along, you find out that this guy's kind of battling his past tendency to, sleep around. And so what he's doing is it's also commentating on that. And he's not sure if some of the women that come up to him while he's fixing the outside of the house are the entity, this creepy thing, or if they're real. And he ends up turning out to be kind of a scumbag, and you watch him lose his mind along the way. There's some great imagery. It's very low budget, very short, very good though. Girl on the Third Floor. Next one is a Netflix movie itself. It's called The Ritual. It's about a group of 4 hikers who are all friends in the past going on this really long hike together in honor of their recently fallen 5th friend, the 5th person in the quintuplet, if you will. And this one's kind of weird. It's partial creature feature, partial cult, a lot of paranormal, where they kind of get lost on this long-ass hike. And the more that they become paranoid and lost, and the more they get scared, they start to turn on each other out in the forest, and they start to think they're never going to escape. It's got a twist ending that is really, really cool. It's kind of a genre blend, which I like, and it's got some great imagery, great acting. Highly recommend The Ritual. Next one is another Netflix film called Apostle. This is about I think it's a soldier returning from World War I back to the UK to his village, where he finds out that his sister has been recently indoctrinated into a cult that lives kind of on the outskirts of town. So he goes and joins this cult looking for his sister, and when he finds out exactly what this cult is all about, it's one of those endings that is really, really never left me. And this is another one that has the scene. You know what the scene is if you've seen Apostle. So it's hard to watch at times, but it's very well acted, very creepy, and it's about a cult. It's probably one of the best cult movies I've seen. I got another one down here that's even better, arguably, but this one's called Apostle. Very, very good. This is one of my favorites on the list. It's called Hush. It's a home invasion film by Mike Flanagan. He's done a couple of other horror movies that I quite like, Oculus, Before I Wake, and then he did the recent Dr. Sleep, which I didn't see that one, but I heard it was all right. This is his best movie, in my opinion, Hush. It's about a woman who's a writer out in her cabin writing, and a burglar tries to break in, or a killer tries to break in and kill her, but here's the twist, she's deaf. So it's a completely different movie than any other home invasion movie, where she's trying to fight off this guy in this tiny little house who's trying to kill her with whatever he can, and he's well armed and she's not, and she can't hear anything. So it is extremely tense. It's a wonderful movie, extremely well acted. One of my favorite horror movies for sure. Hush. Check it out. Thank me later. Next one is called It Comes at Night. This one is extremely poignant for nowadays. It's about a family of 3, I believe, in the near future, where a virus has wiped out most of the population. And they live out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the forest, and they live by a strict set of rules that they lock down every single night, and they live by, very strict rules to make sure that these creatures, these unseen force that live in the forest, don't get them. And they don't tell you really what the creatures are. And then with a lot of good dystopian future horror movies, as it turns out, it's more like the humans are the monsters rather than the actual creatures themselves, because they run into another family that very much mirrors their own family, a family of 3, about the same age kid, and they allow this family to live in their house, but they have to live by those same rules. But the longer they live with this family, the more they realize the family's not following the rules correctly. They're not telling them the truth about where they came from. So it breeds this really tense anxiety and distrust for the new family. And then, of course, this one's ending is unforgettable as well. And it's an exercise in, are humans the real monsters when it comes down to the end of the world? Is it just going to be some form or fashion, just us? As they say in The Lord of the Flies, is there a beast inside? Maybe it's only us. So it's very scary. That's called It Comes at Night. Joel Edgerton's the main actor. You'll love it. Last one. This is my favorite Netflix horror movie. It's called Cargo. It's got Martin Freeman, the guy from the Hobbit series, as the main actor, and it has to do with the zombie apocalypse in Australia. He and his wife are trying, and his newborn are trying to survive, and without giving too much away, basically he has to get his newborn to this haven before like a couple of days pass, or before he dies. Otherwise, the child will die. So it's extremely gut-wrenching. It has some of the most emotional scenes I've ever seen, including the very emotional ending, which I dare you not to cry at some point during this movie. But it's also a very harrowing vision of what the post-apocalyptic viral infested apocalypse might be. It's people eating zombies, cannibals all over the place, zombies eating people, these tribes of humans that are basically subhuman but haven't turned into zombies yet, hunting other people and other zombies. It's crazy. So it's tough to watch at times. Very, very emotional last 20 minutes. It's my favorite movie on Netflix as far as the Netflix horror goes. So I will put, at risk of belaboring this, I will put the next top 10 up in a second here in 2 separate videos. I don't want this to go as 25 minutes here. Those are the top 10 on Netflix, or top so-and-so on Netflix. We got Creep 1 and 2, His House, Sweetheart, Under the Shadow, Girl on the Third Floor, The Ritual, Apostle, Hush, It Comes at Night, and Cargo. And I think all of those are on Netflix. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. They were at one point, but I'm fairly certain when I looked them up last night, all of those are on Netflix. So go check those out, guys. I'll upload the top 10 on Prime tonight. Steal these movies. I'll talk to you later.